Hello, fellow Canon files. Not the organization and storage of artillery, but lovers of the Canon films of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I am AJ Hamilton with my co-host, Nicholas C. Pappas. That's right, I said it correctly this time. And we're back with part 2 of our very special episode of Creating Canon, tackling the film The Last American Virgin. We're not actually tackling anything, though. Our knees wouldn't be able to survive that. But we're wrapping up our discussion on this movie about which we had so much to say. It was released 37 years ago, and like we said last week, it's based on a film called Lemon Popsicle, released about 41 years ago, which the legendary Golan and Globus produced in Israel before they were even running Canon films. We asked a question last week. Who is, in fact, the last American virgin? And we're going to jump right back in where we left off. On with the show.
This goes to that question of who is the last American virgin.
Yes.
Is it Gary, who lost his virginity to Ruby?
Essentially.
Or is it Karen, who lost her virginity to
Ricky?
Or is it Millie, who
just wanted cocaine?
And yeah, that's a big question of, like, when Gary follows them to the football field, like, what the fuck is his plan?
Yes. Yeah, and it was quite creepy.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we are supposed to empathize with him.
I think so too.
And yet, kind of like in Doing Time on Planet Earth, if you remember that episode, I could not 100% get behind our supposed protagonist.
Yeah.
There kept being things that pulled me away from sympathizing with him.
Sure. And I think it's interesting is, like, him going to the football field feels like that grand romantic gesture that happens where somebody runs through the airport to stop somebody from getting on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's really weird about the way it's actually cut together is if we were just with him going there to stop them from doing what they're doing, I think it would feel less weird.
Right.
Because you think that he's going to show up before they have sex.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is they cut back and forth, and, like, she is naked in the announcer's booth, and they are having sex as Gary is, like, pulling in to go stop them from doing it, which at that point it feels like, wait, what is your plan?
Mm-hmm.
Because all you're going to do is walk in on them doing it.
Yeah. And both of them are consenting, and both of them seem to be enjoying it. It's not like he would be rescuing her from anything.
Right.
It would be in his mind. He is, I would say, quite delusional.
Sure.
At this point.
Well, but
because whatever he's feeling is only on his side.
Totally. But I guess what I'm getting at, though, yes, and I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at, though, is, like, why I think we start pulling away from him as a character, as our protagonist, is we already know that he is too late. So when he shows up, it's going to be awkward. I mean, think of it this way. Like, going back to that running through the airport analogy, like, let's say we watched our protagonist get to the airport and run in, and we only see it from the protagonist's point of view, and he always gets to the gate just at the very last second. Like, ooh, we saved it. But if we were cutting back for the gate, and we watched the person he's chasing get on the plane, the plane takes off, and then we cut back to that person starting to, like, run towards the plane, we'd have a different feeling, like, you fucking idiot.
Be like, you lost.
Missed it. You lost. What is... And I think that's the thing.
And I know encapsulated in this one scene, that's true, but you can see him losing throughout the entirety of the movie. I mean, every time they're together, it made me cringe whenever he was pining after the girl.
Totally.
Not only because it's a bit of a creepy disposition to have.
Sure.
But sadly, I've been there, too.
Well, I think every boy, and probably every girl, especially in their high school years, has that thing that's unrequited, partially because we, again, are taught through these kinds of movies that unrequited love is super romantic.
Well, if you pine enough, if you look at them creepily enough, or something,
you will get what you want.
She'll realize, oh my gosh, someone who loves me is looking at me.
Right.
Oh, I've been a fool for so long. Yeah, right. and that's a horrible, and it's kind of weird because it's like almost a guilty feeling of, God, I was there. I have been there. I have put so much into an unrequited love that just made it awkward for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and you were a creeper.
that too.
Yep. But yeah, so anyways, Ricky and Karen have sex. Gary doesn't actually see them. He actually goes back to the diner. Like, Ricky eventually walks in with Karen. He's like, guess what? I just fucking fucked Karen. It was fucking great. Gary's like, no, you didn't. And Ricky's like, yeah, no, I did. It's fucking great. Cut to... It's Christmas time.
They're about to go
later, on a ski trip.
I guess.
Yeah, they're about to go on a ski trip. Like, the whole friend group is going to go. And Karen is talking in the library to Ricky.
Yep. Gary
oversees, and Ricky is like, we don't know exactly what she's saying or he's saying, but we can kind of hear him say, like, get the fuck away. I don't care. I'm done with you. I'm uninterested. Go away.
Yeah.
Which, at this point, Karen runs away.
Yep.
Gary chases after her, and he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, well, I'm pregnant.
Whoa!
Boom! Which I think is a really cool moment in that it connects back to the girl being like, I'm not on the pill, and he says, me either.
Right.
And he's very clear that he does not give a shit.
Yes.
The fact that they have crabs clearly shows that he is willing to do everything condomless.
And he says when he and Gary are confronting each other...
Yeah, Gary confronts him over her pregnancy.
Right. You got her pregnant, and he says something like, it's not the first time.
Yeah. Like, it's not the first time. I don't care. She's annoying.
Yes.
Get her the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
I'm done with her.
And in that situation, I think Gary is under the impression that she is up for grabs now.
Yep. Because what Gary does, well, this is a really weird thing.
Not up for grabs.
Yeah. Because what Gary does is he actually steps up.
But unencumbered.
He steps up. He says to her, he's like, I'll take care of you. I'll help you any way you want. In 1982, this is actually really super fucking progressive.
Oh, very much so.
Because what basically he does is Karen and Gary don't go on the ski trip, although they pretend to.
Right. They bring all of their gear along.
They go to, and they've mentioned this a couple of times in the movie, that Gary's grandma died a year ago, and there's a flat that some of the boys use for sex or whatever. Every now, mostly Rick.
Yes.
That Gary takes Karen there, and he's like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to make you better. I'm going to make you well again. Like, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. He takes her to have an abortion.
Yeah.
And he needs $250. He takes all the money he's earned. He sells his radio.
He asks for a loan from his boss.
Yeah, $100 from his boss.
Yeah.
And he really, in that moment, steps up for her.
Yeah.
Weirdly, as she's getting ready for the abortion, as he's going out and selling all this stuff.
Yeah. There's that awful shot.
Yeah, there's a terrible shot of the movie.
Like there's a lot of nudity in this movie already, and it's in sort of cheeky sexual ways, you know. And in this situation, they are going through a montage of her getting strapped down to the table, and there's one gratuitous shot of it panning up over her breasts.
Well, it starts at her hips, where she's starting to take down her pants.
Yeah.
And we actually see, like, the top part of her pubic hair as the camera slowly pans up and lingers over her breasts to her face, which at this point...
And she's crying!
Is pouring tears!
Oh, God.
And what's weird about that scene...
Yeah.
And what I hated about that scene is it, like, sexualizes the abortion.
Yes.
I will say, though, there could be a really interesting way to shoot that moment where if the camera is further back, we see more of the shot, and we're actually watching her undress as she's crying.
Yeah.
And the way she's undressing is a metaphor for how naked she feels as she's actually becoming naked.
I can absolutely see that, yes.
But the camera can't linger.
No.
The camera can't linger over her parts.
It
has to be detached.
It was shot like the rest of the shots in the movie where they were...
Sexy.
Oh, man, they were sexy, yes.
Yeah, and this is not a sexy moment.
Inappropriate, folks.
Yeah.
Come on, Boaz.
It was really a weird moment.
Yeah. Oh, and that was... also the same. Maybe they were trying to disorient us, because when it was cutting between her getting ready for the abortion and him running around and trying to get the money together, there was a cut between a very somber part of her getting strapped in, and then it just cut to a really loud song just starting out of nowhere.
Yes,
I can't even remember what song it was.
Well, this was when he was starting to get the money.
That's right.
Yeah. It was a weird moment.
Yeah, didn't care for
She has the abortion, and then afterwards he shows up with a Christmas tree and a bag of oranges.
And that is something that was actually talked about, I believe, in Electric Boogaloo.
Yep,
the
Wild Untold Story of Canon Films.
That's right. They said that was confusing to everybody on set. It was
and American audiences.
And apparently it was something that was lost in translation from the original movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it was Christmas time. I get that. But the oranges?
The oranges, I wish I could remember in Wild Untold Story Canon Films what the importance of oranges and the Christmas tree were.
Honestly, all I remember from that was that they were confused.
Yes, that they were confused.
Honestly, I don't know if they even had a reason why.
Maybe they didn't.
Possibly. I don't know. I'd actually, since we've watched so many of these movies, I would love to watch that movie again.
We probably should watch that back.
Yeah, maybe every year.
Like a little touchdown.
Sure, yeah. Put it more in context. But anyway, back to, he brings her back from the abortion.
To grandmother's house.
We go.
Oh, boo.
Nope. It's Christmas time.
There is... she's had the abortion. We're back at grandmother's house, and there's this really interesting thing that happens where there's a shot of Gary in bed.
No, he's just sitting in a chair overseeing her.
Oh, I thought they were both in bed.
Okay. No, he's sitting in a chair off of the bed. Yeah.
But anyways, he's shirtless.
Yeah.
And she is laying there with a magazine over her breasts. And she looks naked. He removes the magazine, and it turns out that she does have a shirt on.
Right.
He pulls her shirt down. Sorry.
Very gently.
Gently. And when I say pulls her shirt down, I mean he covers her body. He doesn't... Yeah. And then he puts the blanket over her, and he kind of tucks her in. And then he goes and he lays in the other room. It's very sweet.
It's a sweet moment, yeah.
Beautiful moment. They wake up the next day. He's made her breakfast.
It's very...
domestic.
Domestic, yes.
And at this point, he basically says to her, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you. And that was a little uncomfortable for me in that I just wish there was a little bit, rather than these stupid side quests, I wish there was just a couple more moments of development where he is actually talking to Karen, because at this point, the only conversation that Karen and Gary have had, just the two of them,
is in the car.
And then for like 45 seconds in the bathroom.
Oh, at the party.
Just after the car meeting, at the party.
Yes.
But nothing since then.
No. That's, again, what made me uncomfortable. Every time he was pining after her, I was like, even if they've hung out outside of what we are shown, it's not indicated that he knows her any better or she knows him any better.
Yeah.
Or that the relationship has grown.
Yeah, well, because at this point, he's pining about the idea of her and not her alone.
Correct.
Like, not actually her. She kisses him, they kiss, and it's just a really small kiss. It's not a passionate kiss.
They do hold each other's faces.
They hold each other, they just hug. And she's basically like, I miss everybody from the ski trip. I miss all her friends, but it's cool. I'm having a party this Saturday because it's my birthday. He's like, awesome. He goes,
am I invited?
And she's like, what do you think? Of course you are. He goes and he buys her a necklace.
No, it was a watch.
It was a necklace. It was a locket.
It was a locket. Okay, that's why it was circle. Okay,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
It must have been next to a watch because he's in like a pawn shop.
Yes.
Okay.
And he has on there. He mentions he's buying it for his girlfriend, and he says, "I want on this locket to Karen with love." At which point the guy's like, "Sure, come pick it up." He shows up at the party. And he is like on top of the world because he's going to give the girlfriend, he finally has the woman of his dreams. He's going to give her the necklace. And he asks, like, where's Karen? And they're like, oh, Karen's in the kitchen. He goes into the kitchen. He opens the kitchen door. And there Karen is kissing Ricky.
And I called it.
And you called it. And they are making out. And it is soups uncomfortable. And Gary sees Karen. Gary is broken.
Of course.
And Karen sees him.
And gives him a look. She gives him the puppy dog eyes, but it's pity. It's not apology.
Oh, because
that's not what I got.
That's so interesting, because what I got from that moment was an actual, I wish I could have loved you, but I just don't. Which is not necessarily an apology, but it's like it's just not, you're just not for me.
Yeah, and like, well, you knew this. You knew this was coming.
Oh, see, I didn't read that. In that
That's
moment.
what I got from it. It's very interesting. Yeah, what our different perceptions of that look were, and in that situation, that's what I wanted to jump right back to that scene with them in the mirror. They in the mirror. They were absolutely not looking at each other.
No, she
was looking at herself.
And if she looked at him through the mirror.
Yeah.
And he was focused on her.
They're looking at each other, but never actually truly seeing each other.
Or
connecting. I think that was the first time he had looked at her and seen the illusion that was a mirror. An illusion is created.
The illusion was broken.
The illusion was broken. And I think at that point, he was only seeing her through an illusory way.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know?
I see what you're getting at.
I don't know. There was so much in the bathroom. There was so much distortion.
Right.
You know? And I think at the very end, he finally saw her. He saw her in a true light.
Yeah, even for the truth of what she felt about him and for the truth about the situation.
Yes.
That he and she and Ricky at that point were in.
Right. And those were the three that were in that bathroom. Yeah. And I don't know if Boaz Davidson was trying to create any type of running theme or imagery similarities, but it just...
You know, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt in that there are a couple of things that happen in this movie where I feel like he must be having some sort of
inspiration.
Well, there must be some sort of connections between things that are happening earlier and later, because I don't think it's a mistake that Ricky basically says to the girl, I don't care about condoms, I don't care about you on birth control or not.
Right.
That sets up something at the end, and there are a few moments that really felt well set up early to pay off later. And at this point, after she looks at him and... depending on whose interpretation.
Yes, of course.
He is devastated and he leaves. He gets in the car. He starts driving away. Tears are streaming down his face. And I'm like, all right, so what happens next? Does he confront Ricky? Does he go back to the party?
Does she run after him and say, you know what?
Are we at the school the next day?
Sure.
Nope. Credits.
Credits roll over his crying
face.
It actually reminded me of Call Me By Your Name, because, spoilers, it doesn't really spoil much, but the very last scene is a character looking at a fire and crying, and the credits are rolling over it, and it is so haunting. In this movie as well.
Yeah.
Him just living in that moment.
I felt my stomach hurt at a couple of times in this movie, and I felt a little broken by several of the things that happened in this movie.
This was almost the anti-sex romp.
Well, that was the
thing. It was the deconstruction of it, wasn't it?
Well, that's actually... So here's the thing that is really fucking fascinating, is like, when you say it's the deconstruction of it, it can't be the deconstruction of it because it was sort of early on the scene.
That's true. Good point.
It's almost as if all of the other movies took the wrong lessons.
Oh, yes.
From it.
Well, yes, that is true.
Because I think what eventually happens here is the boys all get their comeuppance from treating the girls like objects.
Sure.
Right? Like, if he would have just spent some time with Karen and treated Karen as a human being, he would have either A, understood that she was not interested, or B, she would have actually been interested.
Yeah.
But because he was just sort of like a weird stalkery kind of like look at you from afar and all that matters is sex, he ends up devastated.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating. And again, like Ricky and Karen and like all of them with sexually transmitted disease, with unwanted pregnancy and abortion and the emotional and devastating weight of all of those things.
Yeah.
It doesn't end well for these characters who are making very, very, very stupid adult choices as children.
And it ends imperfectly. It doesn't wrap up in a bow. It's this movie...
A Boaz?
This movie is very much not as advertised.
Yes.
I mean, it
is, but it isn't.
It is, but it subverts your expectations and really sneaks in a heavy movie that you are blindsided by with the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yes.
I mean, I really was like, whoa, what the fuck? even though I knew that there was an abortion in this movie because I saw the documentary years ago, the fact that it just ended like that, I was like, fuck, that's crazy.
Well, and it's heavier than you even think, because in a normal movie, in a lighter fare, it would end up that even if it didn't end up that she went out with Gary, they might have ended up as friends.
Yes, because at this point, not only is he broken because he's been emotionally crushed, the reality is Rick's going to get her pregnant again. And
she's in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, at that point, she's either going to have to get another abortion or she's going to have the child. And that's where we're left off. Because I think, again, when you talk about that quote-unquote, like, normal, stereotypical Hollywood movie, as you said, even if they, meaning her and Gary, don't get together, she has learned her lesson and is not interested in Rick.
Right.
And that's that, you know. But there is a truth in this movie that these kinds of movies don't capture ever.
Yeah, it's true.
And that is oftentimes, and it's really sad, but like, people go back to their abuser. People go back to the bad relationships. People go back to places where they shouldn't go because it's comfortable, it's known, they think they can change people, so on and so forth.
The heart wants what it wants,
or wants what it
something
wants.
Less cliche than that.
Yeah. And it's not always that clean.
It's a tragedy.
It really is.
This movie is such a 180 from what I expected.
Yeah, me too. Which I guess leads me to the question then. Because I'll tell you how I felt about this movie. I'm curious how you felt about it.
I think I liked this movie. I liked a lot of aspects of it. And yet it felt clunky. Unfortunately, the storytelling could have been streamlined.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the character development is disappointing. So I actually like the naturalistic nature of the relationships.
Yeah.
I thought it was very true to life.
Sure.
I think even if there was somebody going a little bit over the top, like Victor being a little too nerdy or Big Apple being a little too nervous, or
that is, that is one thing about this movie. I'm so sorry, because I think this attaches to that in a weird way. The original Lemon Popsicle took place in the 50s.
Okay.
This took place in the 80s. It took place in 82.
Correct, yes.
And there were tons of moments in this movie that felt like I was thinking, like, as I was watching, I was like, wait, is this the 50s or the 80s?
Right.
And I think a good example of that would be, like, Victor, who was too nerdy.
Yes.
That is a nerd from the 50s. That is not a nerd from the 80s.
The taped glasses and
the
all
pocket
protector. Yeah.
And some of the stuff Big Apple was doing, and a lot of the characters where I was like,
sure.
Oh, that's the 50s. That is not the 80s.
And then they bring in a beeper.
Yes.
Or something like that.
So in that sense, I just wanted to agree with you in that, where it's like, things felt a little anachronistic.
Yes, very much so. But a lot of the other characters were fairly down to earth. I think Gary was quite
Karen,
believable. Karen, Rick,
Millie, Rose.
Millie, my heart.
I know, I loved her so much. She was so good in this movie.
And even Rose had a couple of moments where she was a little like, I'm the nerdy friend.
Well, she was definitely 80s.
But she was, yes, but she still pulled it off.
Yeah.
She was quite good at that. So it's a mixed bag for me. I don't know if I would recommend it to someone.
Interesting.
Because I would recommend it if I explained it, if I prepped something, because I think if I said, just watch this, and they looked at the cover and the title, they'd be like, oh, this is like a predecessor to American Pie. And then they'd be like, what the hell did you just have me watch?
See, I would...
You would want that to happen.
I would just give it to people and be like, watch this.
Of course you would.
I loved this so much.
Okay.
It's imperfect, and I think you and I agree on that. I think a lot of the side quest stuff gets a little messy.
The pacing.
So, for example, like, the first side quest with Carmela did not like.
No.
But the second side quest with Ruby...
added something character-wise.
Yeah, and if they could have folded a few certain things over into each other. I also think some of those moments, if there was a little more build-up and payoff between relationships... But I feel like this is a movie that I wish I could remake today. because I think the spine of it is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of good humor in there. I think the story is really strong.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that it was unexpected. They took us places where I did not expect to go.
Sure.
And to me, and I thought they pulled them off.
Yes.
I actually thought they earned that ending in a way that I was surprised by.
Interesting.
Because it didn't feel tacked on.
No, it doesn't. The stuff that was, I guess, hitting me in the wrong way while I was watching it was actually building to that. Like the awkwardness of Gary, like the non-responsiveness of Karen to Gary, because that's what we expect.
Right, because I think we both expected them to end up together at the end. Of course. And when they don't, like when we are taught that that's how movies like this end.
Yes.
Is the guy gets the girl that he wants because she's an object and a prize.
Yes.
When they aren't giving us that through the whole movie, and we're like, well, of course they're going to end up together, and now I just don't buy their relationship.
Yes.
When the ending happens and there is no relationship, it is actually like, oh, fuck. And it recontextualizes everything that comes before. And you're like, oh my God, this actually makes sense.
This is a deeper movie than it is purported to be.
It tricks you.
Yes.
It really tricks you.
Yeah.
All right, so what's canon about it?
Oh, gosh.
I have a couple of things.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the nudity. I mean, they absolutely made this. I mean, they had already made it.
True.
In Israel. But I think that they knew that sold to American audiences.
Yes, I agree.
I think for some reason, and I know this is every movie, but it seems like specific cars, like iconic cars, are kind of part of canon. I think for some reason they realize that America is very much about cars.
Boobs,
cars,
guns.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. This had 2 out of 3. Yeah.
No guns, but it had boobs and cars.
No, probably in that pawn shop that he got the necklace in.
There might have been a gun
somewhere, but can't have it all.
Yeah. I would like to throw in this really killer soundtrack that it had.
Very
I thought
much
it was
so.
really awesome. That is the thing I'd like to steal. I don't know if it's necessarily canon films, but it is a thing I'd like to steal.
Definitely.
I actually thought there was some really solid plotting that I'd like to steal.
Yeah.
Something that does feel very canon is the fact that it sort of loses focus on its side quests.
Yeah.
And another thing that I thought was very, very canon that I really appreciate about their stuff, and I think it's because they are not a huge movie studio, and they have a European sensibility, and sometimes this pays off and sometimes it doesn't, but I really admire the bravery of ending the movie the way it did.
Yeah.
I really admire that they were willing to not go the quote-unquote super typical Hollywood route.
They didn't have anyone to answer to but themselves.
Yeah.
And they were obviously friends with Boaz, so they were like, do your thing. Do your thing. And also, it probably made, if it got 8 sequels, it probably made some good money in Israel.
Oh yeah, it definitely did.
What did this make?
This made, what was it, $5.8 million?
Yes.
And I don't know what the budget was, but it couldn't have been more than a couple.
I can't imagine. No.
Yeah. And this is $5.8 million and $82, which is a pretty, probably like, for an R-rated teen sex comedy that
I'd say average.
With an abortion.
Yeah.
That's probably 30 to 40 million today, right?
Right, yeah. Most people probably got tricked. Like, if you imagine the people who went to see this, what do you think that their perception of it would have been? Like, if those old commercials where it had people coming out of the theater being like, oh my God, that was the craziest movie I've ever seen.
Well, I'll tell you what, this came out in 82, Porky's came out in 81. They definitely expected Porky's, and they did not get Porky's.
No, absolutely not.
I don't know what they said walking out of the theater, but
they're probably scratching their head like, I need to go think about things.
I don't know.
I gotta call my ex-girlfriend and apologize. I don't know.
But I
yeah.
Oh, what I was gonna say too is like what's really ironic too about like the non-Hollywood ending, which I really fucking loved.
Yeah.
Is one of the opening shots of the movie is the Hollywood sign, and I think that's really fascinating that we go from something that feels so Hollywood in the Hollywood sign, and we move so far away from it.
Yeah.
Towards the end.
You know what else I liked is that all of the side characters really went for it. I know that we hammer on that a lot.
Sure. That's very canon.
But I think that canon spends as much time casting people.
Sure.
It doesn't, there's not a disparity in talent between the stars and the extras. In fact, sometimes they get bit players that are even better than the main stars.
Yeah, I mean, everyone fucking goes for it. And I think that's one of the things we talked about from our very first Canon movie, when we were talking about
Captain
America. Like, Red Skull fucking goes for it.
Yes.
Ned Beatty goes for it. Everyone goes for it in that movie, and in this, it's the same way.
Yeah.
So committed actors.
Yeah. And it's nice when they get parts that are actually written for them. You know, not written for them, but that are written out, that are not just a stock character that, you know, that have an attitude to them, or maybe they just bring that to it.
Well, I was gonna say it's
like
probably
Mel Wells and whoever played Ruby,
Nancy Brock.
Yeah, she really embodied that character.
Well, I think it's a thing where, and this could be two ways, right? Because I think what ends up happening with Cannon, like, this is obviously a movie that has been ruminated on and marinated on. He actually made the movie and then got to make changes to the movie, if you think the fact that it's a remake, right?
Yes, of course.
So these characters are super fleshed out. Or the flip side of that is these scripts are written in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The side characters are not fleshed out. There is nothing on the page. And they're like, please bring something.
Do something.
Versus a situation where the characters are, you know, they're there and they're serviceable. And there's enough on the page where there's nothing that can be invented, but there's also not enough on the page where there's anything interesting happening.
Yes, correct.
So Canon sort of, through their own either ineptitude or their own preparation, creates very strong secondary and tertiary characters.
Sure, yes, that's a very Canon thing.
Yeah,
excellent. Also, director Boaz said he liked to use raw actors, like unknowns.
Yes, well, I think this is an interesting. Well, so I know that was a personal thing for him. I'm also curious if, like, for Canon, and this is why they get actors who fucking go for it.
Yeah.
Is I think they're using a lot of actors who are unknown, so to speak, or at the end of their career or whatnot, as those tertiary and secondary characters, especially. Yeah. So it's their one fucking chance to go for it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when Charles Bronson or Chuck Norris are the only stars in the movie and everyone else is either faded or up and coming, everyone has to leave their mark.
They're trying to do something.
Yeah, if they want to make another movie.
Remember me with those 3 lines to Chucky?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he punched me because he doesn't like being called Chucky.
Yes.
But Davidson actually said he liked them unknown because they were like virgins to film. Because they're the last not the last American virgin.
I feel like that is the perfect wraparound.
I think it is.
I think so.
And there you go.
And there you have it, folks. The last American virgin. All right, so what are we doing next time, AJ?
I'm not going to tell you. Okay, Nick, what is on the show next week?
Next week, I have a treat for you.
Is it?
It really is.
Does you?
I does. The Albert Pune directed.
Oh.
Kathy Ireland starring.
Sexy.
Alien from LA.
Oh.
Yeah. This is going to be uncomfortable for me to watch. Well, it might be uncomfortable for you to watch with me because I was in love with Kathy Ireland as like a 10 to 12-year-old age. I thought she was the be-all, end-all of what a woman should, can, and forever would be.
Well, you know, and you haven't really advanced much since you were 12, so...
Yeah, I mean,
gonna be a
right
problem.
now I'm into Kathy Scotland.
What about Kathy Wales?
Yes.
No? Is that...
Kathy Wales sounds like it would be a real name. Hello, I'm Kathy Wales.
As long as you don't spell it with an H.
Yeah. But why would you spell Kathy with an H? Oh, wait, Kathy does have an H.
Catty Wales.
Catty Wales. Let's introduce to Catty Wales. You know what's really fun about the Irish? They and the Italians are the only people you can still make fun of.
It's true. It's very true.
I'm so sorry to the Italians and the Irish listening.
Yeah. What about the Greeks?
Cannot make fun of the Greeks.
Not of the Greeks.
It's not okay.
Well, they've gone through a lot of stuff financially.
Yeah.
It's like kicking them while they're down.
Seriously, and especially after their entire culture was basically ripped off by the Italians.
That's true.
And then destroyed. You know what? We won't go there.
No. But Alien from LA next week.
Yes, it is.
Sounds good.
Oh, God.
All right, sounds good. And Nick, where can we follow you?
All of the normal places. You can find me on Twitter at Nicholas C. Pappas, or you can check my website, nicholascpappas.com. I'm pretty boring. I'm old. I don't do things like Instagram.
Oh,
I should, but
you
I
should.
don't.
But you should.
Yeah,
but
I know.
But we all, we all have our failings.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Follow me at the AJ Hamilton on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things.
Periscope.
Whisper.
TikTok.
Big Bok.
What was the other one? Vine.
No, that's dead now.
I know.
Did it
Friendster,
come back? Yeah, there you go. MySpace.
Napster, MySpace.
LimeWire.
All of the above.
Yeah, absolutely. Minecraft.
AOL, Instant Messenger.
You can follow us, Creating Canon. That's Creating Canon, Cannon. And you can email us at creatingcanon@gmail.com. We really do want to hear from everybody out there. We really enjoy communicating with our fans, even if it's just a comment or a like or something like that on our pictures or posts.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to know that you guys are out there. We really appreciate it.
Please rate and review us on iTunes. It helps us
Promote the show.
Algorithms promote the show, and then AJ and I get to send fun text messages to each other. They're like, "Oh my God, did you see someone liked the show?
Woohoo!
Yay!
Yeah, you guys are fantastic, and we want to tell you, as we always do, good night and good Canon.
Yeah, stinking virgins. Virgins?
Virgins?
I think I said virgins. No, that's right.
What did you think you said?
Versions.
I mean, they are a version of a version.
Yeah.
Version. Everybody's a virgin at something.
That's true.
I know.
Bye.
Bye. Ah! Oh, God. Throw cats at me. God damn it. Yes, hello?
Computer, play Are You Ready for the Sex, Girls?
Are You Ready for the Sex, Girls by Gleaming Spires from Spotify.
This isn't a vapid song.
This is a terrible song. Computer, shut up. Are you ready for the sex?
Girls, are you ready for the sex?
Girls! But if I'm gonna break your nose,
We're gonna do this for real.
I'm gonna do it this way.
Oh no! It only takes 2 pounds of pressure to destroy a person's brain, to shove the bone into your brain.
But
What
we're forgetting with you is that it's a smaller than average size brain.
Are you using the brain this week?
I ain't, Pinky! Wait, hold on. We're starting off special and we're gonna end special.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna start off real special and end real special.